Hello. There are many great filters that are implemented in Xvid4PSP version 5 that you can use to remove the bad visual effects from your old VHS tapes. I've tested all the VHS filters right here at the end, and a few others on 2 videos I recently acquired. I will go over the best ones I found in detail as to what to expect. Now, things could result differently for you since each video may have different visual effects that are needed to be removed. I've tested a piece of video that has multiple issues with it, that has excess chroma as here seen on the left side here, and some lines also on the faces and some other places. On the right side is the filtered out video, much better. Here's more lines, some grain on the right side. It's almost pretty much gone. There's the line still up there but less prominent. More grain here left versus right side. I also looked up for stabilization of the video. The right side of those screenshots were from medium blur 5x5 filter, which I found it to be the best one. Now here's a list of the filters that I gave less than 3 out of 5, which will be listed in the section below the video. As for the ones that are 3 out of 5 or higher, I will go over them from the least helpful to the most helpful. The next video will show VHS RemoveSpot. On the left side is the original video, the right side is the filtered out one. You see the dark background is a little bit better. The text less jumpy but still not as great as medium blur 5x5. Here's the next scene. Less chroma, less red overall on the right side. Actually, I noticed many spots of the video that actually has less chroma overall, so maybe it takes out way too much in some areas. Here's the next scene. Too much chroma in the original video on the left side. It does much better job. There's some changes here, and the tray looks a little bit different, green versus blue, so it does a little bit changes. And let's go to the next scene. In here you see Virgin Mary statue, less chroma overall, much better. And the last scene in here, which does better job than medium blur 5x5 in taking care of the static lines, but the colors are still not that great. For example, the color of the pants are not as black as in medium blur 5x5. And also the main problem with VHS RemoveSpot, it takes forever to encode any video. For me, it says it will take about 30 days to encode 90 minutes, and actually it failed after a few hours. Okay, from the top left to the bottom right, you'll see the original video, medium blur 5x5, RemoveSpot, and CAMS3 LS. VHS CAMS3 LS decreases the contrast and chroma, but stabilizes images well, so it's less jumpy. It does actually better job than medium blur 5x5, but the color filtration is nowhere close as good. A great number of scenes they look as if they are faded, and doesn't seem to clean the background noise well. Also pay a note to the colors in RemoveSpot in comparison to medium blur 5x5. In some scenes they are better, and in other scenes it seems to be much worse. Here are a few examples between Camsley LS on the left and Medium Blur 5x5 on the right. Static lines and noise or grain are still more visible than Medium Blur 5x5. Also pay attention to the background noise in here between Camsley LS and the Medium Blur 5x5, which clearly shows how Medium Blur 5x5 is superior to Camsley LS in that category. Now let's compare Medium Blur 5x5 versus VHS Depulse MC spuds and Medium Blur 3x3. Though hard to see in here, overall I've noticed VHS Depulse has less image stabilization than Camsley LS. The chroma mess is a bit more apparent than Camsley LS, but the static lines were resolved about 80 to 90%. VHS MC spuds seems to be a little bit better in some areas over Depulse, such as better color retention, but more static lines seems to exist. As for the Medium Blur 3x3, similar to MC spuds, chroma is slightly less jumpy though, and image is more stable, especially in the beginning. The images have less lines, a bit smoother, but there's a bit loss of detail. 5x5 gives much better results. Now let's compare Remove Dirt on the bottom right versus Camsley LS and others. In some scenes the contrast is weaker than VHS Camsley LS, and the colors look a little bit faded, especially in the beginning of the video, while at the end of the video it's almost exactly the opposite, where the scene's a little bit darker than usual, and it's most likely due to over sharpening. So it's not a very dependable filter to use. It does take care of the lines well, but some of the misplaced green chroma on the faces still exist. Now the last one is VHS Medium Blur 5x5. It seems to do a little bit better at fixing the chroma mess and less static lines than Medium Blur 3x3. It does seem to do a little bit of sharpening and also video stabilization, which is great. Another thing is that I found out is that when you try to crop the mess at the bottom of the video, you have to do it during the encoding process when using the Medium Blur 5x5 filter. If you do it beforehand, such as cropping the entire part in the video editing software, it will recreate more of such lines when applying the filter in Xvid4PSP. I will go over this in detail and how to take care of it in a minute. Now there are some side effects. For example, in this picture you see there's more red on the right side than the left side. I also seen some scenes there was actually more blue afterwards than before. Another thing seems to take out some of the details in the background, such as a moving fan. Take a look on the left side of the fan and compare between the two images. It seems to be the fan is blending in into the background, Here on the next picture, you'll see the plus signs on the left side versus the right side. It seems most of them are missing. Here's another picture where you see the fruits on the left side versus the right side. Same issue. Here's the last picture where you see the music sign on the left side versus the right side. Also again, same issue. By cropping the bottom part alone, we screw up the original ratio of the video. To account for that, you have to crop out some of the vertical lines along with it. So in general, it's better to leave it alone, unless if you have some of the vertical lines that you want cut out anyway. If you want to crop different amounts depending on the scenes in your video, then it's easier to do it in the video editing software and then leave some of the bottom lines to be removed later in the Xvid4PSP program. For my video, leaving 2 lines out of 482 lines to be cropped out in Xvid4PSP is enough to take care of the medium blur 5x5 side effect. Now, let's crop the excess parts for this selected scene and do some calculations. First, go to Effects and type Crop, then drag and drop the effect on the selected video. 1.6% in here is enough to take care of the messy bottom lines. Since the resolution is 640 by 480, it's going to be 1 to 1.33 ratio. So we need 2.13% needed to be taken off of the vertical lines. I did 2.2% in here, 1% from the left side and 1.2% from the right side. Since we have to keep 2 lines extra, approximately 0.4%, which will be cropped in Xvid4PSP, then I subtracted it from 1.6, so I have 1.2% applied to the bottom instead of 1.6. And don't forget to press on the zoom button. Well, that's it folks. That's all I have to say. Thank you for watching.